So we presented a phase 1/2 study that looked at a new regimen called NALIRIFOX, and NALIRIFOX is a regimen that combines FOLFOX, which is 5-FU, leucovorin, and oxaliplatin, with liposomal irinotecan, and that was a study that treated patients in frontline metastatic pancreatic cancer. And the study started out as a phase 1 dose escalation study in which patients were enrolled on cohorts to find the safe and tolerable dose. And ultimately, once that dose was found, it proceeded to go into an expansion of 32 patients. And overall, the safe and tolerable dose was found, and it was a fixed dose of 50 milligrams per meter squared of liposomal irinotecan, which is already approved in combination with 5-FU in second line, and along with oxaliplatin 60 milligrams per meter squared and the standard 5-FU dosing of 2,400 milligrams per meter squared, and leucovorin as well, with no 5-FU bolus. So once we established that dose, we went on to look at efficacy in the 32 patients, and the data cutoff was of February 2020, and ultimately in the patient population we studied, we had a 35% response rate, which is consistent with the literature, and PFS of 9.5 months, which is a median PFS, which was encouraging, and a median overall survival of 12.5 months. Now, from a toxicity perspective, this study had less GI toxicity than would have classically been seen with classical FOLFIRINOX, and also quite a bit less neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy, because the oxaliplatin dosages were less than classical FOLFIRINOX. It did have, of course, some neutropenia, which is seen with classical FOLFIRINOX as well, but there was no mandated GSF use in this protocol. And ultimately, the efficacy was sufficiently compelling, in our opinion, to show that, with PFS and OS numbers that are reassuring, that the regimen will now move forward. And this has been launched, a phase 3 clinical trial called the NAPOLI-3 clinical trial, which is randomizing patients to either the NALIRIFOX regimen or another standard frontline regimen, Gem/Nab-Paclitaxel. So that's a global 700-patient study that's just been launched, and which is randomizing patients 1-to-1 to that regimen. So, I think we're trying to, first of all, see ultimately which regimen is better in the frontline setting. And that's the question that I think most practitioners, oncologists who treat patients with pancreatic cancer need to be answered. Is there a preferred regimen in frontline? And Gem/Nab-Paclitaxel is one option. FOLFIRINOX is obviously another option, but nobody's comparing them. And so this study, which is NALIRIFOX, which we think has advantages over FOLFIRINOX, as I mentioned earlier, will be tested head-to-head versus Gem/Nab-Paclitaxel, and obviously that'll take at least a year or more to recruit, because we a little slowed with COVID, of course, but then hopefully we'll have an answer to this question, and we're hopeful that it will prove to be, obviously a superior regimen to some of the standard stuff. I also think just that the NALIRIFOX regimen, if it's proven to be successful in the front line, can also serve as a base for adding additional agents down the road. And we've been looking for a base regimen that, with FOLFIRINOX type of strategy, that other drugs can be added to. So hopefully, we have a long way to go still, obviously, but so far the results are somewhat encouraging that this is a safe and tolerable regimen.